So, let me find my back pocket. It's here. Yes. I kind of pulled the short match when we were coming here and deciding who is going to talk about what, and there was people asking, can somebody talk about Angular, Dart, or Polymer, or something? And we like pulled the matches, and I got the short one because usually I work with the code like that, and Polymer and Angular are more about the code like that. So a tough challenge for me. But I will try to do my best to introduce you to this nice, fantastic world of web development. Probably you're already more introduced than I am anyways. But yeah. So I was not always a compiler engineer. I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I did not know that I will be a compiler engineer. So I had a book about the HTML. I don't know how many of you remember that there was once the time of DHTML. These days, all HTML is completely D. And yeah, so, but it was very exciting to read how you can use Visual Basic script to script the buttons in the Internet Explorer 5 or 6 or something. Yeah, and then kind of, I also had a book about this. Also very fantastic technology where you could write some XML hoo-ha if loop and it would template your XML file. And I was very excited. I was a small child. And I think all enterprise software is developed by small kids according to this because they use a lot of XSLT. Yeah. So if we fast forward a little bit forward, then next time when I looked at the web, it was the D was gone. And instead it was $HTML everywhere. Everybody was using jQuery and building interfaces like that. And I kind of decided that I will be better a compiler engineer. So yeah, so that's a short introduction to my talk. Nobody wants to build interfaces or huge apps like that because it's just abomination. Of course, we cleaned up a little bit the DOM APIs in Dart, so it kind of looks maybe, I don't know, still horrible. So here comes the Angular to save us all. So yeah, so what's the Angular? So Angular.Dart is a port of AngularJS to Dart, fixing some of issues that AngularJS had, introducing some improvements, and so on and so forth. So yeah, Angular.Dart. This is a model view controller framework for your applications. But some people dispute whether it's model view controller or model view something else or model view whatever. And actually some people from Angular team say, yes, it is a model view whatever. Just don't try to understand, just use it. Good. So you have a view which is DOM, and that's all the DOM is good for, displaying your data. And your data and your controller or whatever is just Dart objects. And then the framework provides the automatic connection between your DOM and between your models and controllers. And you just do something with your Dart objects and then view changes with the magical power of Angular.Dart. Okay. So 2 + 2 = 4. You can say, oh, what the hell? That was strange. That's not connected to anything else in the presentation. Well, that's because actually I did not write this in the slide. What I wrote is this. So this slide deck is actually an Angular.Dart thing, and the stuff above the highlighted area is how it looks, and the stuff under in the highlighted area is what I wrote there. So mustaches. Angular.Dart has mustaches. Who does not? Even I have a little bit. So yeah, but it's not very interesting just to, I mean, that's not a Gmail quality or I don't know, even not a Twitter style application to add 2 numbers, yeah. So let's try something different, like a little bit harder, like create 2 number inputs and then say that this input goes to the model V1 and that one goes to V2, and then the result goes is addition. And then we can do like, la 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 la, yeah, it works. Hoo-ha. And everything is, I did not write a single line of actual Dart code. I just wrote this view, and magic happened. So I think I'm already satisfied with this. I go back to the compilers. So yeah, that's one thing. What happens if you bind, like here you saw, I have these numbers going into these kind of variables, and then I can add them. What happens if I bind two inputs to the same variable? Like here I say v here and v there, and then I v plus v. So you can see what happens. This is a double-way, the two-way binding. So this v there says there is like tight connection. We are brothers. And as you update the v, all places where v is connected to in this way are updated as well. So, and again, there is not a single line of Dart code still. Somebody else wrote all the Dart code for me, the Angular.Dart team. Okay. So now something a little bit, the mustache with an upgrade. So this, the Angular.Dart has this feature called filters, where you can take the mustache and say apply some transformation to the value. And here I use the model, and then I have the interpolation here with mustaches, but then I apply uppercasing. And then I can say, my name is, I don't know, Oslo. I can type, yeah, so everything is uppercase. So nice, cool. But the question is, of course, is it extensible in the sense that do you have to wait until Angular.Dart people write this uppercase thing for you and call them and where is my uppercase filter? Can you ship the library which includes it? No, you don't. You can write all the things yourself and use them with Angular.Dart. Okay. So, yeah, the answer is yes. Wow. Okay. Yes. Here's how you write in the Angular.Dart yourself a filter. I wrote a capitalize. So the Angular.Dart is all based on, well, not all based, but it uses annotation. So you use the normal Dart classes to define kind of behavior, and then you put an annotation on the class saying this class is actually can be used in the Angular.Dart as the filter with the name capitalize. And then when you write mustache with the pipe capitalize, the Angular will like take the value from the left side and pipe it through your filter using the call here. And the value comes here, and the value goes there, and there is a pretty simple code down here, and the value returns here or here. It doesn't matter. It's just a capitalization. Take the first character and make it big, and all other characters make it small. Okay. So, and then you tell the Angular that there is a module, and then there is one type that you might be interested in, which is capitalize. And you basically registered it with Angular, and when it sees this pipe capitalize, it will use it. So here, oh, it also used name. You see here as well. So the Oslo came from the previous slides because it's all running in one instance. Like this Oslo was actually, where was it? Not here. Yeah, it was here. So if I put here, it's here. Yeah. So surprised me a little bit myself. I was afraid. Yeah. So a lot of startling moments expect us. Yeah, you see, it's capitalized. Nice. Okay. So ng model also is not some magical feature of Angular.Dart. It's called a directive. I have no idea how to pronounce the English word correctly with a stress, but I will call it directive. Directive? Directive probably is better. Okay. So directive is also a thing. Yeah. So you can think about them as decorators for your DOM elements. Like here, the ng model decorates the input and adds some additional behavior to it, like take the value from the input when it's updated and put it in this box called name. So here is, oh, the name came here as well. It's just polluting everything. So here it's, for example, ngif is also a directive. So there are all various kinds of built-in directives. I'm not just going to talk about all of them, but you can you can, like here, the behavior that gets decorated on your element is the check the condition, and if it's true, show the element. If it's false, hide the element. Like here, the condition is you need to use the word big. So then it changes and uses H1 instead of H3, and so on. So, yeah. And it's again, it's a directive, so you can write your own ones. How do you do that? You use the ng directive. You could have guessed that how the annotation is called, and then you tell it when you see in your DOM this selector, then you apply this decorator to this element. So, for example, the ng model just says input type text, and it also has ng model attribute. So here I say, if you see input type text and it has attribute my integer validator, then apply this directive to this element in the DOM. Everybody knows CSS selectors. Who knows? Yes. Oh, 3 people. Yeah, actually, that might be true. So not very well known thing. So what I do is that with this validator is in constructor, I get the element which I'm going to decorate. Then I attach listeners to the onChange event and on KUp event. That's how in Dart you attach listeners to DOM. And then I call the validate. So, and the validate is again very simple Dart code. If it's empty value, then okay, it's obviously valid maybe. Oh, actually now I see the bug which was driving me nuts in the night today. But yeah, doesn't matter. So if it's empty, then just return. Then just try to, if it's not empty, try to parse it. If there is an exception, then add the class to the element. If it's not empty, remove the class. If there is no exception, then remove the class. Okay, how does it work? Then you need still to register it. Yes. So I wrote this again input here, and I attached the attribute, and the Angular applied the validation for me. So if I do this, then it shows me that if I do something valid, then it removes the class. Okay, good. So, but here the people who are not sleeping after eating all the sushi can ask why the constructor looks this way. Like why there is only element coming in? Can we have something else coming in? Can we have nothing coming in? Why do I have to put the type there also? Like what happens if I remove the type? So, in fact, if you remove the type, Angular.Dart will explode. So the thing is that Angular.Dart is a dependency injection-based thing. And it uses your constructors as the declaration of what dependencies your directives, filters, whatever have. So you can ask for various things, and you have to use the type there. Then it will use the mirrors, which is the reflection facilities available in the Dart language, to determine which type you're asking for and what's provided with, and pass you the right objects in. So here I say my my directive depends on the element which it decorates. So can you give it to me? So can we ask for more than an element? Yes. So we can ask, for example, for HTTP, which is the service that Angular comes with. It's an injectable service that provides a better API kind of over what the Dart has built in. And you can ask for this service, and you will get it if it's provided by somebody. And then you can use it inside this directive, for example, to request, I don't know, to ask Google if the integer is valid or invalid. I don't know. Yeah. So that's actually a very important part of the whole Angular design, because it also enables very good testability, because in your tests you can provide the services in a different way. Like you have mock HTTP, and here just declare it, I want this interface, and you can mock it with something else. Okay. So also Angular.Dart has components. And I think Angular.js didn't have them. That's the first time they appear in the Angular world. So the components are essentially, if you heard about custom elements, it's lightweight custom elements. If you didn't heard, then they're still lightweight custom elements. So the source highlighting that I use in my slides is actually a component that I wrote for these slides. And you see, if you again, I remind you that I should not move from here. I remind myself. So what's on the bottom is actual markup that I used on the page, and on the top it's how it's rendered. And so if I write this HL.js, I use the highlight.js, kind of answering the question that, yes, you can use from Dart the normal JavaScript libraries easily. And then I pass the source in, and it gets highlighted and displayed. So, and yes. So it's actually a component. So how do you do a component? How do they look in the code? Oh, we can actually go deeper, yeah. The whole thing, these whole two things are a component that displays the source. Basically, if you want to show some Angular demo, you can just wrap your Angular code, Angular DOM, in the view source component, and then it will render the bottom, which shows the source, and then it will render the top, which displays the rendering. So here I wrapped this in another level, and then you got so what was here, it actually looks like down there. Okay. You do it like that. This is HL.js component. So what do we notice here? So it's, again, you specify the selector, which is, again, a CSS selector. This time we say it matches the tag HL.js. And it has the template in this file. And it has CSS that you need to include. And this is the shadow DOM thingy, because it's built on top of the shadow DOM. I'm not going to go into details what shadow DOM is. It's a way of encapsulating your things in the DOM. It's a standard which will come sooner or later. I just saw that there is an intent to ship the shadow DOM implementation turned on by default in the Chrome or in the Blink. Yeah, anyway, so this you can ignore for now. And this map here specifies what to do with attributes. So if you go back, you can see that it has one attribute called source, and there is a string there. So this map basically tells you to take the attribute called source and map it to the field, the Dart field or Dart setter in this case called source. And what happens is that when you place this, when the Angular.Dart matches this selector, it looks for this attribute, and it will assign a value to the Dart property, which will involve the setter, and it will do highlighting and change the DOM and whatnot. And next time, actually, when if I use, for example, the mustaches there in this in the source attribute, then if the source gets updated because the attributes because the mustaches get rendered a little bit different, then it will call the setter again and it will re-render. So yeah, the template looks very simple. This is the HTML file. Basically, I just have the container for the highlighted code, and then I build the innards with the DOM manipulation a little bit. Yeah, there is basically nothing interesting to see here. If you look at the page source, maybe here, inspect element. What you can see, this is a document fragment, this whole thing. This is exactly the shadow DOM. So here it's a HL. Can you see it actually? I could probably zoom. Yeah, here. So this is the shell.js, and inside it has this shadow DOM thingy, which oh god. Okay, anyways, it has it. And I pressed. Okay, so what the hell? Too much key bindings. Yeah, so it has shadow DOM, and you can read on it in the internet in the specification what it actually is, and so on. Yeah. I am not a web person. I'm too afraid to tell you. Okay, and also Angular.Dart has controllers. Because I did not write much code with Angular.Dart, I don't completely grok why they need it, to be honest. But I have to tell you that Angular.Dart has them. So I kind of understand why it has them, because they can be, unlike, so the directives, the decorators for your elements and controllers are kind of containers for your business logic, and they contain the pieces of the model to expose them to the DOM further down, kind of. Yeah, hand waving a little bit here. So you can declare them, again, they're very similar to the other parts. So that's very, very hard to see the boundaries between them, but there are some obvious use cases for each of the parts of the Angular. So again, you declare the selector, and you can also publish, for example, both controllers and components and everything else you can publish, which means the Dart object will be available from your view under this name. So in the mustaches, you can use, for example, slides.something, and you will interpolate or call the method and so on from the view, from the DOM. Okay. So yeah, and they don't do any DOM manipulation. They just manage the model essentially. Also, the Angular is a real kind of framework, and real frameworks, they have beans and so on, and it has routes and views. This is how you do the view in the Angular.Dart. You use this ngView tag, and then it gets replaced, the contents of it gets replaced with the content of the view. And here the view is very simple. It displays the slide number. And where did it get the slide number from? Well, it actually got it from here. So you see this hash here, and there is a path. I don't know, very popular this abomination is. When you have the path in your hashtag, despite the fact that there is better APIs these days with the push state and whatnot, which allow you to have the whole URL there, the normal one, not the stuff. But anyway, so this is how you define the router, define the route. So you basically have the router, and you say, this is the path you have to match. I have to tell you, otherwise Angular people will come and kill me. I had to, by default, Angular for routing actually uses the good APIs, not the hash abomination. I had to disable the good APIs and pass a special thing in to make it use the abomination. For me, because my slide deck, which is the reveal.js, uses the abomination. But it's a good slide deck, so otherwise the guy who created it also will come and kill me. Anyways, let's move on. So I define this path, and then it basically parses this part of the path here, puts it in the slide ID thing, and it displays the view defined in this HTML file. And the view defined in this HTML file is very simple. It has this slide number, slide ID, and it has controller, which can display the slide ID. And the controller looks like that. I already showed you one controller. This is another controller. It has a little bit of strange things like root provider. Basically, the root provider is the guy who knows. I ask the dependency injection to inject, so I depend on the roots here. And then I can use the parameter slide ID from here and return it, and then it gets rendered here. Success. Okay, that was all the basics, but you already can, I think you can build some nice applications. I just want to go and build some nice applications right away, maybe. So there are various stuff that's all built in, like pre-made directives, components, and everything is composable, as you can see. So you can have multiple directives on the same thing, and everything is very isolated. So you can easily provide packages with new directives or components and reuse them, and so on. Like, for example, if you use components, then because of the shadow DOM, your CSS is encapsulated inside the shadow DOM, and it doesn't mess up with your whole page. It just messes up with the controller itself, with the component itself. So it's very nice, very tight and very composable. Okay, that's basically it about the Angular.Dart. You still see I have some slides down there going. You can go to this page. There is a nice tutorial there, and there are a lot of samples there, and there are also people who actually know how to use Angular, not like me. There, and so on and so forth. And let's proceed to something else. Like here, people would ask, there was some Polymer also. What is Polymer? People usually also ask, like, Polymer.Dart versus Angular.Dart. Like, what do we use? So the short answer here, before we reach the end of the slide deck, is that Angular.Dart is for applications. So if you're building the application, then probably you might want to use Angular.Dart. Also, it's kind of more mature. The internal team at Google used it to build, in 6 months, from scratch rewrite of a very complicated system. And they were super happy. Well, super I did, but they were happy. So I think it's a very nice library. Even I liked it, which is hard to achieve. Now let's talk about Polymer. Polymer is this separate thing. It's usually people show this picture, when they talk about Polymer.JS, and I also show it. And the thing that you should understand from this picture is that there is some red thing here, and then some green thing here, and there is blue at the very top. So, so the red things down there is something that is going to be native part of your browser eventually, like Shadow DOM, for example, or pointer events, or mutation observers. And right now, you have to polyfill them with some JavaScript polyfills and shims and whatnot, and yeah, and pray. And on top of that, you have Polymer.JS, which defines the common framework for defining actually custom elements. And custom elements are just tags, essentially. So you can remember the Angular components. That was a light version of that. This is a more centered about defining new tags in the browser. Like, you want your H55. Here you go, H55 for you. And you used all this stuff down there, and you can use a little bit here. And then you can define all kinds of elements. And then on top of these elements, you can define UI elements. Like here, like not necessary UI. It can be like flex layout, I don't know. And here's like real buttons and so on. And then you can build an application on top, if everything goes very good. Yes. So it's all about custom elements. And I will just go very quickly because I like Angular more, despite using Polymer actually more. So I wrote an application using Polymer, and anyways. So this is how you define a Polymer element. So you say, I want to have a tabs tag in my browser. Or I don't know, I should have made it, I don't know, the blink or something. Then so this Polymer element thing is actually a custom element itself, if provided by the Polymer.JS framework. And it allows you to define the custom elements in an easier way than you would do using the raw APIs, like raw Shadow DOM APIs or raw custom elements APIs. And by raw custom elements API, I mean window.register. Where you have to provide prototype and whatnot and so on. Here, just say, here's a template for my Shadow DOM. And when you encounter here this tag, you just put inside the Shadow DOM that looks like this. And you can have like also mustaches, though these mustaches in the syntax is not compatible with mustaches from Angular, which adds some confusion because it's kind of different things. But these mustaches are going to be standardized, kind of. So Angular is not a standard, again, web. It's awesome, we all like it. So you can have loops, and you can build like a list of list items, and then you have the declarative event binding here. So you cannot put arbitrary. So in Angular.js, you can put pretty complicated expressions when you bind clicks, for example, click handlers. Like you can say, call the method on the controller. Here, you don't specify neither controller, nor you just specify the name of the handler, and that's it. If you try to put some addition there or something, it will say, no, you can't do that. And and then you have the actual implementation file down there. In the implementation file, annotations, you can see. It says this class extends the Polymer element, and it provides the implementation for the tabs tag. And here's an implementation. It has also, again, it's like model from Angular where you can have, or controller where you have the values, which you can access from outside from your template. Like here, I accessed items here. I have to declare it observable so that when I change this array, it gets re-rendered automatically. It has some lifecycle control, like this element came into the Shadow DOM has been constructed, and the thing is kind of visible, and it was removed from the DOM. And here is a handler for the declarative binding here that I was saying, non-click handler. That's how it looks. It accepts 3 arguments for God knows which reasons. What other features are there? So there is, you can observe which properties of your Polymer element are changing automatically. So you don't need to write any special code for that. You just declare a method called which matches the name of the variable here. So I can say items changed. And if somebody pushes like an element here or like changes the whole variable, the whole field, then this method will get called for you automatically. So you can track the changes, listen for them if you want to. What else? you can expose attributes. Like, you remember there was a map thing in the Angular.Dart, and here I have to write this annotation called published, and then I can use the mustaches. Here mustaches are the polymer mustaches, or the template binding mustaches, and bind this from somewhere else outside. And there will be, again, two-way binding where everything is updated in all directions. So one thing that like Angular doesn't have, but because this is more low level and it's all about the custom elements, you can extend the existing elements. So like you always wanted to have a custom UL element, you can have it if you want. So you have all the behavior from UL element, but it's also with some additional behavior down there. So the Angular.Dart components cannot provide you that because they're just some Shadow DOM stuff. So yeah, so the core of Polymer.js, so it's again the port of a JavaScript library to Dart. The core has been mostly ported. The polyfills we use just as is and so on. And the Polymer.js also comes with this, the greenish thing is up there, which are the elements which give you the value. And they're like UIs and stuff. And the JavaScript library has a lot of them. And the Dart is being kind of, some people from the community are porting them to Dart. So they're somewhere on the GitHub and in the pub. But not all of them are ported. So there are tons of, I'm just showing you the elements from the JavaScript library. So there is like completely non-visual, like JSON NP. What the hell is that? Well, I know about the JSON NP, but how is it a custom element? Who knows? Yeah. So, but one thing to notice here is just custom element is just an element. Like, you don't need a PhD to figure that out. And so you can use Polymer.Dart with Angular.Dart if the weather is good. And you can imagine that in your application at the end, you can mix and match things. Like you have some Polymer fantastic list, but you can annotate it with a directive because you can apply directives to any element. And you can have stuff inside that is built by Angular. So yeah. So that's it from me about these two things I know nothing about. And thank you very much for your attention. And you can ask questions, but I might not be able to answer, so be careful. Yes? Oh, that was no questions. Okay. Well, should we go without a stop and I will give the second talk? Or you want to eat more sushi and drink more beer? What do you think? Is everybody dead? Go on, okay. Whew. Okay, well, yeah, I think if we go on, then the beer is almost in the length of my hand. So, as I told you, I'm actually a compiler guy.